Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
I love photography. I've always loved art, and now that our phones are so much better at taking photos, I don't have to carry around the big camera anymore. I love being able to shoot candid shots, and especially now I have a new granddaughter, so it's really fun to have the option always there and to do video and to do fun things on your phone.
Great. That's it. First of all, okay, Ann. I don't want to butcher your last name. Ann Aubitz.
Yes, good job.
Thank you. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, I can read English.
Aubitz, that's good. No, I get everything. Aubitz, Aubitz. So no, you did a good job.
No, that's really great. Thank you for joining me on the podcast on Shooting It Raw. Somehow we're going to get to the question of if life is a gift, how do we make every second count?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about you, and the whole idea is we're going to have a raw conversation. Like, you send me 4 photos, that's going to frame the discussion or the conversation, and I'm going to discover your world and share it, and I know nothing. And please treat me like a kind-hearted idiot.
Okay, I love that.
Okay, so first of all, just so I can figure out, like, where in the world are you? Where do you live? I'm in Hong Kong.
You're in Hong Kong. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Another Minnesotan. Minnesotan? Yep. Minnesotian?
Minnesotan. We pronounce our O's long, so Minnesotan is usually what
Minnesotan.
People say. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Represent, for some strange reason, I've had a whole bunch of people. Maybe it's because of the publicist happens to be saying, I have no idea why it is, but as I've remarked before, there's something about really kind, sweet, nice people from Minnesota. What's with you guys?
Thank you. I think we are. Some people call it Minnesota nice, and they don't mean that in a good way. But no,
Screw those people.
Yeah, right. No, I do. I love it here. I think if we didn't love it here, we wouldn't stay here through the winters. So you have to be really hardy to be a Minnesotan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's just, everybody is very kind, I think, for the most part. I shouldn't say everybody, but for the most part.
I'm impressed. I came from Montreal to Hong Kong.
Oh.
So the winters are even harder and tougher. And much as the people in Minnesota are super sweet, I'm not moving. I'm not coming over anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
But Anne, I am really curious. Let's jump into your first image because who are you? This is going to be great. Okay. What? Okay. So this is... Okay, so it's a group photo of 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 people. You're in the middle. It looks like you're almost wearing a kind of, either a Harry Potter gown or a graduation gown or some kind of gown. Everybody's wearing this black something, so please don't tell me it's a funeral.
It's a funeral.
Everybody's smiling. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a funeral.
It's a funeral. And I picked this photo on purpose. Yeah. Well, so... My mom just passed in March, and she was almost 98 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she had an amazing life. She had 15 siblings, so she grew up in a family of 18. So mom and dad, 16 kids, lived on a farm.
Oh, wow.
Several brothers went off to war. She was a military wife. She just was an amazing person up until the very end. And she was feisty as all get out. But it was so wonderful. And that day was very special because she planned her entire funeral.
Oh.
She planned it after my father died in 1993. She paid for it in 2010. I've had to plan other funerals for my brothers, and this was a gift that she gave me, and it was so nice. I had 5 older brothers. I have now 2 older brothers, and they are wonderful humans. But as far as doing stuff, it usually was me taking care of my mom's finances and health and everything. So it was a gift. It was a good day. We celebrated her life, and things were exactly as she wanted them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So no, no, sorry, no sorries.
Okay, no sorries.
No, it's all good. So, just to anchor the image. Okay, it's basically people standing full shot facing the photographer. 4 women in the front, 3 guys in the back. It's within a large hall, so there aren't. It's just basically a group shot of you. There's no other people. What I love, these episodes are really funny because I never know what happens, and then sometimes the listener goes, you kind of stutter, falter, because it's like you present this at this funeral celebrating your late mom's incredible life. Now, are the people in the photograph here? I mean, it's so warm, it's so nice, and are you all family, or what's the relationship? Let us in. What's happening?
So the person, well, yes, they're all my family. They're my 2 sons and 2 daughters, and then my daughter-in-law and my husband. So my daughter, my daughter has the long blonde hair, and then my second daughter in front has Down syndrome. So and then my daughter-in-law is to the right of me, and then the guys are in back. Mitchell, Christopher, Brian. Yeah. So, it was a good moment, and they were all there, and they were all very supportive, and they were all helping out and being pallbearers and doing readings and just stepping up. And it just was really nice to have everybody there. It was so it really was a celebration. I was preparing. I did the eulogy, which everybody told me not to, but I felt that for obvious reasons.
Is it?
Well, they say,
obvious?
They say not to if you're really close to the person, because you could break down. And I thought, I had a friend in the audience who said, she goes, I will step in. If I see you, you just give me a signal and I'll run up. It was only 3 minutes. So that's all that they wanted it to, as long as the priest wanted it to be. So it was really interesting to start to think about this. My mom lived through 17 presidents. She lived through a world war and many other wars, the moon landing, the World Wide Web. I mean, just so many things. And when you think about that, 2 pandemics, she was born at the end of during the Depression, just so many things that shaped who she was. She never finished high school, but she was always seeking knowledge. Up until she was 95, 96 years old, she was still doing crossword puzzles and word finds and still reading. Nice. So it was a good day. So it was sad. It was terribly, terribly sad, but it was so great to hear the stories that everyone told about her, that I hadn't heard.
Of course. Okay, well, here's a story you haven't heard. I don't think. I was run over by a car when I was in my early 20s, and I had a severe brain injury, and I was in a coma, and I was paralyzed, and it gave me a couple of things that really lasted, really shaped who I am. One of them, it's called the podcast, right? Let's make every second count, right? Because from one moment to the next, I was just standing on the street, and then a car ran over me, And I came as close to death as a person could come. Then when I woke up, I was cognitively reduced to that of basically a child, right? I could barely read. I couldn't walk. All this stuff. And also in terms of thinking, I was also, like, I was aware of how easy, for example, it was to read and to talk and all this stuff. And yet my brain just was so damaged or hurt that I couldn't quite do it. And what that did was it really changed my relationship to time, to the present, to making sense of our lives, and being grateful and thankful.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see this image of family celebrating your mom, who ultimately shaped who you are in ways that you're conscious of, in ways that you're not conscious of. So if I were to ask her, I'm asking you to channel her in a weird way. How do you make every second count?
Oh, she would say, spend it with family. And also she was such a spiritual, religious person. She would go to church every single day if she could. That was her one thing. She never drove. So all through her life, so she relied on other people. So she didn't get that opportunity to go to church every day or do things like that. But she just was so in love with the faith and that religious part of it. She loved the songs and she loved everything about it. And she was grateful every day for every minute. Okay. And she had a goal. She wanted to live to be 100. And she almost made it. And she was so healthy. She wasn't sick at all. And within a week she was gone. But it's, for me, it was a blessing because she wasn't sick for so long and suffering. We kept her very, very comfortable. They did a great job through hospice, and she was wonderful. And she had a smile on her face. She was smiling, and she couldn't communicate with us. And she knew we were all in the room, but just up until that very last moment, she appreciated every second of her life.
Oh, and what time is it in your world right now?
It is 7:41 at night.
That's right, at night, right? In the evening, yeah. For me, it's 8:41.
Good morning.
In the morning. Thank you. Whoa, Anne, we started on a really intense note. Okay,
we did. I love it. I promise it'll get lighter.
No, it's not heavy. It's great because look, as somebody who's come close to death 3 different times.
3 different times.
It's part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it just so happens, but it's all. I mean, if anything, like what a lesson. To celebrate somebody who is so important to all of your lives and to have this nice, incredible moment to say goodbye maybe or to, it's so totally beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you. Thank you. Well, you delivered.
Yes, isn't that great?
Okay, this is great. So it's a very close shot portrait photo. Is this your daughter? I mean, the hair and it looks like your daughter. Yeah. So she's putting her 2 hands forward in the kind of like a V. Hands are crossed. She's wearing a leather jacket. Her hair is up in 2 mini kind of buns. She has this really sweet smile. Just looking right at the camera. Yep. Hamming it up, I guess. It looks like you're in a thrift shop of some sort. Or some kind of...
We are. Good. Yeah. Good eye. We're in a thrift store.
Yeah. So in the background, it looks like, I can just barely see the hints of racks with clothes. And what's your daughter's name? Are we allowed to say what your daughter's name is?
Yes. Her name is Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin. Okay. So take it away. Great portrait.
Oh, she is a lot. She is wonderful. She is my heart.
Nice.
So
well, she's your daughter.
I know,
Of course,
but
it's your heart.
so we didn't know when she was born. We had no idea she had Down syndrome, and it just every day is just a blessing. It's just different every day. But she is a model.
Mm-hmm.
She is an actress.
Oh,
She goes to a day program that is specific for the performing arts and visual arts. She's a performing artist. She has done shows at the Guthrie in Minneapolis, Luminary. She did a Christmas Carol about a year and a half ago at the James J. Hill House, which is a big, huge mansion. And it was a ghost
mm-hmm.
story. But she just loves acting and modeling. And this was during a fashion show. And
Mm-hmm.
it's at a thrift store, and it is called Embrace Your Style. And it is done around World Down Syndrome Day. And it's all about inclusion. And they have models of all different types and, different abilities and it's just a wonderful way to have people be so expressive. Like I said, embrace
Mm-hmm.
your style. Mm-hmm. She has on, and you can't really see it, but she has on a full sequin silver dress from neck to her knees. And then leather jacket, leather boots, the two little space buns, they're called, I think.
Yeah.
And she came right up to me and did that during the show.
Nice. Nice.
So just free and wonderful and pure.
Well, okay, so your daughter's having Down syndrome, and basically your life experience and your way of just basically your experience and her experience are going to be drastically different than, say, mine.
Mm-hmm.
So open that door, and then what is it that you want the world to understand because of the difference, right?
The biggest thing is that there isn't that much of a difference. Like, people come up to me and say that I just had a woman come up to me at a conference and say, "Oh, you are so lucky. People with Down syndrome are so happy and joyful all the time." And I went,
okay. Okay, nice. I would. Okay.
Well, that is not true. And I said this to her. I said that no, like, come over to you should have been at my house this morning. Like, my daughter right now is 28, and she is we call her angsty teen. She is acting and reacting and like a 16-year-old, and she is a handful. And I said, she has good days and bad days, just like everybody else, just like all of us.
She's a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Funny that.
And the biggest thing is when we're standing together, people will ask me questions, and I'm like, she's right. Like,
right there, yeah.
She's right here. Like, she can speak. She a lot. I mean, she sings, she dances, she can answer a question. So we find people and surround ourselves with people and programs and things where they're really treating her, like, they're treating people with respect. And
sure.
The doctors we have speak directly to her. Like, they don't even talk to me. I can just sit in the corner and be on my phone. I mean, they're just so they're very involved with her, and they empower her. And I think that's the biggest thing, is they are people, and that they should have a choice in what they do and how they live their life. And she's made a lot of choices for herself. She's in a lot of sports. She just got home right now from basketball, from Special Olympics. She's a swimmer.
Okay.
She just loves to do things. She had 3 siblings growing up, her sister Ashley and then her 2 brothers, and she wanted to do everything they did. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Though I'm a shitty host in that what I do is I often interrupt. Okay. And then I'm like, but I have a question. So in terms of birth order, because I'm trying to share your human experience,
Mhm.
right? So in terms of you're growing up, you have you can make this construction or understanding of or the story of the world, and then you get married, and then you decide, or maybe you didn't, to have a child, and so maybe you can sort of frame, in terms of your daughter's like birth order, but also in terms of as a young parent, like as a new parent, maybe as a parent, what it was like to have this, all of a sudden this is the new reality, and you're like, oh, okay, so how about we make that real for a listener?
So when I married my husband, he had 2 young boys, and we had Ashley, and we got married, had Ashley, then I was pregnant with Caitlin. We were going to have 4 children under the age of 5, and I was terrified.
That's a lot.
That's a lot without working 2 jobs. Brian was running his own business, and he was busy 60, 70 hours a week. I was a manager at a print shop, and I was very busy, and I had travel. I had just we had a lot going on. And we had a great system. And I always kind of cringe when people say it takes a village to raise a child. I never really liked that, because I always felt like that meant that somebody could tell my kids what to do, kind of thing. But it's not a negative thing. We had a lot of people that helped us. And I can't imagine what our lives or their lives would have been like without that help. It was a lot. And when Caitlin was born, we had no idea that she had Down syndrome. And the staff at the hospital at that time, granted this was 28 years ago, it's changed a lot, the first words out of the doctor's mouth was, "Your daughter has Down syndrome. Do you want to give her up for adoption?" That was, just straight. And then basically handed us a brochure on Down syndrome and left. So wasn't a lot of support at the time.
Yeah, and your brain, first of all, you just came out of giving birth, and you're like, wow, yeah.
And we have, 3 other kids, young.
Wow.
And it was chaos. Our house was already chaos, and it just added that one extra thing to it. And it was just, it was very difficult at first. And we made it through. We did everything we could to make sure that they had a really good life and a good upbringing. So, they're all still here. They're all wonderful humans. They turned out really good. So I'm so happy.
Yeah, well, for sure. Okay, so as a parent, parents, when you start, you're kind of you're just sort of making it up as you go along, and there's no manual, and you're just like, our kids survived. How great. So there's that. Already there's that. And ladled on top of that is this sudden awareness, realization, like, what is it to raise a baby who has Down syndrome? In terms of the learning, so your other daughter was born without Down syndrome. You're within the norm of a newborn versus Caitlin, suddenly a newborn with Down syndrome. Like, how did your new parent dealing with a newborn cope? Or did you feel like, well, actually newborns are all little monster newborns, like they're all newborns are newborns, it's all the same? Like, what was that like?
It was different, because when she was born, she was blue, She didn't have enough oxygen, so she ended up staying in the ICU. And I couldn't stay as long as she could, but she did get out after a couple days. So it wasn't like she was in, like some babies, for months. She was able to get out, but she had oxygen on her. And the oldest son, who was about, almost five-ish, he said she was born with no nose. So he thought that's why they were helping her breathe, because she didn't have a nose.
Right.
Well, of course she did, but she had a lot of health issues. And that's the thing with babies with Down syndrome is they aren't typical newborns, because they do have issues with their respiratory systems, with their heart, with other things. She happened to be born with 2 holes in her heart, which was
scary.
Yeah, and there was another baby there at the time, and that baby had to be airlifted to a different hospital for surgery at 5 days old with heart issues, and that baby was born with Downs as well. Caitlin had her surgery when she was a year old, but that first year, and the first year she slept a lot, but people think, oh, that's great, but it was nerve-wracking because you never.
I'm sure.
I did the mirror trick to make sure she was still breathing. I would bump the crib, just anything to get her to move. And so I had to wake her to feed her. I had to wake her to change her. Wow. It was a rough first year. Just uncertainty. When my older daughter was born, she never slept. She never. So it was total opposite.
Right.
Completely opposite. And it was opposite when I was carrying them. So I thought for sure that Caitlin was a boy, because it was so different. Everything was different. But it was because she had Down syndrome. So, and and it was a huge shock. And the thing I remember, and the thing I remember is, I called my mom and I said, and I was weeping, and I said, Caitlin was born with Down syndrome. And the response from everyone is, I'm so sorry. And I still get that when I say my daughter has Down syndrome. And there's nothing to be sorry about. She is just an amazing person who does a lot of wonderful things. And, it has been a blessing to have her in our lives.
Clearly. So look, the photo is, a great portrait in a thrift store. She's giving this sweet, expression, clear, beautiful smile, radiating, just great. Anne!
It's me!
Okay. So this photo is a photo of a photo in a frame, where it says, my Anne Marie? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, Anne Marie. So it's basically a toddler holding a teddy bear in a photo studio. You're wearing this white little, baby onesie blouse thing. You're holding up the teddy bear. You're holding it in a way that's almost like you're like, what they just give me to hold? What is this thing? And you're looking off to your top left, maybe to a parent or somebody trying to get your attention. The image is in this weird monochromatic, brownish, amberish, warm. Yeah, and so it's a photo that's framed within. It looks like an 8x10 maybe, or maybe a 5x7. I don't know. And yeah, it's a nice, sweet baby portrait. So what's this?
So I was going through my stuff the other day looking for photos to send you. I never noticed, and this is a photo of me when I was born, or toddlerish, that my mom wrote on there, my Anne Marie. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. It just struck me as being, I don't know, like I said, just really sweet and very nice. And she always had this in her sewing room. So it was always right
Okay.
by her. And I grew up with five brothers. They were all a lot older. The youngest one was 12 years older than me. The oldest one was
Oh,
22
wow.
years older than me. And
Wow.
yeah, and she would always tell people, like, they was like, "Oh, you're so lucky you finally had the girl." I didn't care. And it was like, well, you obviously really wanted a girl. But it just was so sweet that she put that. And I had never noticed it.
Mhm.
I had cleaned out her house about 4 years ago, and moved her into assisted living, and then through the system, and then up until like long-term care at the end.
Yeah.
But she, yeah, I had this in a box and was looking through and just thought, that's just really nice. So I thought I would share that.
No, of course. Okay, so here's what's interesting about photographs and this whole process of us talking about it and whatever is kind of like, okay, well, what can we discover here that you haven't seen that is actually bigger than us? So your mom, obviously you have the connection to your mom. She had this photo, clearly had a good sex life. If 20x years later had another baby, so good for her. Yay that. Yeah. So why don't we talk about that role of the past and the present and the connection? So how does that, for example, shape your relationship to your children?
So I've always been really adamant about like writing down the past and making sure we recorded her memories and different things like that. And it recently has come, I really like reading the stuff that we ended up getting down. I hired somebody to come and get her story, and reading
Mm-hmm.
that, it's remarkable. And and how it shapes me is, I think it just makes me realize how important everyone is in the family, that just the connections, the outpouring of support that I received when mom was sick, and then when she passed, from cousins I hadn't seen in 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People were calling and reaching out, and it was really wonderful. And I think if I can carry that to my kids, just to appreciate that, the family part of it, the memories, the past, which I think is so
Mm-hmm.
important. And I don't think we are recording it in a very great way now that's going to be, I mean, podcasts and everything are so wonderful, but I
Mm-hmm.
love when people are journaling and writing and making sure they're capturing their memories for their children. And
Mm-hmm.
when people do books with us, I'm a publisher. A lot of them are about not necessarily just a memoir, but are about something. So about,
Mm-hmm.
having their artwork, but sharing that with the next generation and generations to come.
Right. So now we've opened the door to something that I know, which is writing and books. And okay, so it's really funny because I'm a nerd, and I've been doing photography and writing for a long time. And when people say to me, "Oh, this is a picture of me of when I was younger," I'm like, "Well, all photos of us are from when we were younger." And then also then writing. Writing is the past, right? In a way, like we're recording our thoughts and also shaping them and preparing them and publishing them. So you're a publisher. Aha!
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this publisher that I'm speaking with someone who's written a book herself?
Yes, I have. So I just finished one all on my own, like not on my own. I shouldn't say it that way, but I've written stories for
It
anthologies.
takes a village.
It does take a village. It does. It takes a village of editors with me.
Yep, you got it.
So I finished a book on publishing. And
Okay.
I had started it in 2017. I finished it in 2019. And then I didn't do anything with it. And because so many things have changed, redid it, revamped it, had a couple more editors look at it, and just launched it and handed it to one of my friends. And I said, "You're getting the first copy. Here it is." And I said, "This is my first book." And she goes, "Well, that's just sad."
What?
Well, thank you. She said,
"You own good that your friends keep you humble."
Yeah, they do. They do, right? She goes, "You own a publishing company. I can't believe." I said, "Well, no, I've published books, like anthologies, and I did a whole line of books called Reminisce that are for people who are maybe older or have dementia or cognitive disability, but still love to read. So it's large type, but they're great stories. They're still adult stories. They are, 1,500 to 2,000 words and, maybe a couple characters. So I've done that. So I've done a lot of different things. I just never have launched a book on my own, like under my own name. So it's different.
Right. No, of course it is. Now look, what would you tell your author who was invited onto a podcast to promote or to talk about their book, which maybe you didn't want to do, but what would be the first thing you'd tell your author to mention about their book?
Probably what it's about or what the name is, which I haven't done that yet.
The title!
The title is The Journey from Manuscript to Print. So you can see it.
Nice, and there it is. So you're holding it up, and it's a journey from manuscript to print. It looks like a very dense, full, rich book. I mean, it took a couple of years plus to bake, and then you just launched it. Link in the show notes, of course. Okay, Anne, nice. And again, Aubitz.
Yes.
Book in stores and can be ordered online. What is the reader going to get from the book? And look, not the one little nugget, but what is the big sort of lesson that the readers get from your book?
Well, so the tagline, A Guide to Publishing Your Book. It is through the whole process, and it is not. It's not sugarcoating it. It is telling it like it is, but it's still inspirational. I don't ever want to crush someone's dream of writing a book because it's so important. I mean, no matter what you're writing about, one of the first books I ever published for somebody was a book about her cat. And so that was so important to her, and it was these inspirational things about cats. So I mean,
nice.
It can be about anything. And I love working with authors because they all have a different passion. And it's so wonderful to hand them their book the first time. So what they'll get from this book is really, really nuts and bolts of what the whole thing involves. And if you've published a book before, you know that the work really starts after the manuscript is done. Then you're doing editing and the cover editing. A lot of editing, cover design and interior design and getting it manufactured. And, and it depends. And this isn't just about one type of publishing. I talk about self-publishing, hybrid publishing, and traditional publishing. So it's really giving people a lot. It's a lot of information.
Right. Yeah. Well, it looks like a very full book what you showed. Yeah.
It is. And I cut it by 100 pages. So it is. But what I did is the chapters are 2 to 4 pages. They're very short chapters, but the sections are the writing process, your target market, the business side. Those are just some of the sections. So it goes through everything from start to finish.
Now, as you're saying this, there's the
Mhm.
photo that you have that says "My Anne Marie" that your mom held up in the
Yeah.
frame of this baby kind of being handed this teddy bear, going like, "What the hell am I gonna do this?" Okay, and then you showed me, and then like skip a few decades, and then so you're holding up your book,
Mm-hmm.
and isn't it like a miracle of existence that baby sitting in that photo frame is now in I don't know if that's your office or where you are right now, holding up your very own book. Great. Well, so it hasn't been out for long enough for you to get feedback, but have you gotten any feedback in terms of how it moved the needle for someone?
Yeah, so I have I've gotten a few reviews on the book, and people are appreciative of how much is in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was at a conference, and that was right when the book came out. It actually came out on my birthday, April 20th.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the book there. So it hasn't been out long at all. But there was a woman who came up in a wheelchair, and she said, "I'm so happy that you have this on audiobook." She's like, she ordered it sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "It's so nice that it's, accessible. I have it on Kindle and hardcover and softcover." But she emailed me later, and she said, "Thank you so much for writing this. It is so nice to have a reference, like, to go back to." She said, "I've listened to some of the chapters a couple times." And I thought, well, that's exactly what I wanted, is I want people to be able to take this book and dog ear the sections that they want to go back to. There's a whole section on marketing. So if they're maybe looking for something new to do with, for their book, they can go to that section. So, I'm really happy that she reached out.
Yeah, nice. Well, because you said you're really happy that she reached out, I have to skip on to the next photo.
Oh, okay.
Last photo already. Boom. Okay.
Where is that?
Oh, look. It's a perfect metaphor. Look at that. So it's a photograph that's been tricked out with some strong filtering. It's a photo of, it could be Iceland, Greenland, one of those countries. What? Look
it's
at
Iceland.
that.
You did it. First guess.
So there's a road sneaking down to this incredible landscape. It's a cloudy day. It looks like it's been raining. It's wet. Highway with no other cars. Well, no cars on it. Actually, there are no people on it. Very desolate. There's basically the kind of Icelandic rugged territory with some hints of green. So maybe it was done in spring or summer on a rainy day. Is this your photo? What is it? What are we doing? This is a perfect a metaphor for something. What's the metaphor?
Well, the metaphor is
don't let me box you in.
Okay. I put it in here because I love to travel, and I loved Iceland, but it really reminds me of the journey that we're on. And you had talked about, coming from the heart, and what we were going to talk about. Well, not what we were going to talk about, but talking about the photos. And I just thought that was really apropos, that it's the journey.
Yep.
And people also say that that's the exact spot that was in a movie where somebody skateboarded down it. The Life of Walter Mitty. Right.
A great short story that was modified quite a lot into the movie.
Yeah.
But, well, both were good. Yeah. Amazing photo. Amazing place.
Oh, yeah. I love Iceland. That was one of my favorite places that we've been. So we're a huge traveling family, and it's fun to go places. So we went to Niagara Falls for the eclipse.
Okay.
That was remarkable. I've never been there, and just the power of the water and the whole vibe there is very cool. So
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the journey of this lone road with no people, cloudy, rainy, lots of new growth. Basically, you're on your own. Tough it out, kid. It's a long, hard road, but you'll see some beautiful things. I don't know. I mean, this is your.
I was just gonna say, I posted this and a couple other photos, and one of my friends on Facebook was like, I would never go there. There's no trees. Really? You wouldn't go somewhere to visit because there's no trees? But I just thought it's just so different from where I live, that just it has a beauty in it's like you said, ruggedness, and I can't say that word, but it just was cool. And we hiked to the volcano and did all the Iceland things, but it was amazing. And that road it reminds me of the whole place.
Well, okay, let me rewind things a little bit in that. Okay, so life is like your mother's life, your life, your daughter's life, the journey of writing, for example. Like, you start a narrative and you don't know where, in many ways, you don't know where you end up, because sometimes the narrative, if it is a narrative, but even if it's a nonfiction book, you end up kind of discovering or having to update new territories, right? So what are you an advocate for then?
An advocate for,
or what are you championing? What are you on your journey of your life, that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next second? Beyond sharing what you've experienced, is there something about looking ahead? I'm just trying to find the bigger message from this photo. What's your brain trying to communicate?
So my biggest thing that I really want to leave a legacy of, and it always comes back to books, and it's not a plug for publishing or anything, but when I was little, we used to have these big, huge parties, and I used to go into the laundry room on my little yellow stool, and I would read. I was a nerd too. I'm still a nerd, but I loved that. And I love that people can write what they want. So I'm all about leaving a legacy of books that are inspirational, motivational, spiritual, educational, and that help people. And that's really what I want to do on this long road, is help people do that. But also, I'm an avid reader, so I'm constantly reading, not just the manuscripts I get. And that's the great thing too, is I found a job where I can read every single day. That's my job. I have a lot more to do than that, but that's a big part of it, is just reading what comes in. And it's so wonderful to get to know people and to really get to that level. And writing is so cathartic, and it's helping me now through. I've had a lot of loss and grief, but it's helped a lot. It really has, and I think it helps people just process and get through things.
Absolutely. Okay, so how old is your publishing empire?
So we started we started a print shop, my husband did, in 1997. So it's been around a long, yeah. So we were doing like mom and pop corner print shop type things, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, when people still use those. But it morphed into books. We produced books for my mother-in-law's best friend, and we just printed them and shipped them, and that was it. But then it just kept growing, and we added more and more and more services. And so we started in 2010 with with a self-publishing arm that was, Mentor Press, helping people through the whole process. And then in 2020, we acquired another company that was hybrid. And so we've been doing that since 2020. We signed the papers March 1st of 2020, so right before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Shut everything down. So it was an interesting time to start a business. But
yeah.
But people were writing through that to get through that too. So we started then, but it really has morphed into something more than what I had ever dreamed. And it's wonderful. I love it. I love handing the author their book. And when they see it for the first time, and that emotion, and that I've had people who have written a very tragic story about their lives and have just sobbed uncontrollably when they see their book. And I've had people run around their house screaming and laughing and, hooting. So there's just so many different types of reactions, but it's wonderful. And that's what I love.
Yeah, you're handing over a baby to a proud new parent, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming in terms of how do we wrap this up, right? So we started off so for example, are you trying to get authors? Are you trying to what's the next step for both your own personal development, for being an advocate for people with Down syndrome, or just in terms of how the publishing world is changing, how reading is changing? What is the next chapter or the next twist in the road for Ann Aubitz?
Well, I love doing things I love doing podcasts, and I love promoting my own book.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought? I've helped people, but it is really great going through this program because I'm going through with my authors as well. So working with the publicist and with the marketing company, and it is very eye-opening, and I'm meeting so many great people that I love doing this part of it. But it is really, with publishing, you have to stay on it. You have to change with it, because when I started in printing, we were still shooting and making film and then stripping the film and making plates. And just think how much it's changed. We're completely so much. And we're not just a publishing company. We have all our own presses. So we're handling the production as well. So it's very different, but it's all digital. So we don't have to print thousands and thousands of books. We print 100 books. And another thing we're really passionate about is making sure we're not wasting. Printers are notorious for toxin, in the past, for toxins and different things in the inks and the cleaner. But now it's so much better. And we really try very, very hard to use everything that we get.
So if people want to find out about you, where do they look? Other than the show notes, of course.
They can go to our website, which is Kirk, K-I-R-K, housepublishers.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as Ann Aubitz. So you can connect those ways. We're on Facebook, Instagram. So
nice.
Really, yeah. So anyway.
Okay. Well, and so one more time, somebody who wants your book. So please sing the title and then also what they'll get from the book, just so that, because I love the idea that you're basically, of all the things that you could have put together, you've put together a manual that details how to get, as a service, you're really serving other people, how to get your story out into the world, so you too can weep or laugh or scream and shout from the rooftops. So again, please, your book.
Okay, it's called The Journey from Manuscript to Print, and it's a guide to publishing your book. And It is. You'll gain the clarity and confidence to publish your book and start sharing your story with the world. So I say, let's start the journey together.
Nice. Anne, thank you so much for joining me from Minneapolis or from Minnesota, and you've delivered. You're super nice. You're super great, and this is great. And as somebody who loves books, and I'm a publishing nerd, love it.
Thank you.
Well, have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Oh, baby, I like